We're going to take a moment now to delve under the surface of Paris, where in addition to metro lines and catacombs, you will also find rivers and canals. In recent years, the waterways of Paris have become increasingly accessible and popular. Chief among them is the Saint Martin Canal, or Canal Saint-Martin. Now, the slow current, the low embankments, and the historic system of locks have contributed to that canal's popularity. That's helped transform the surrounding area from an industrial zone to a youthful, edgy, vibrant neighborhood in its own right. And at the end of the now fashionable canal, there's also an almost 2-kilometer-long segment where it dips under the surface and takes on the appearance of any other boulevard in Paris, right under the Place de la Bastille. We're going to talk all about the Canal Saint-Martin now with Hilbren Buys, who joins me on set. Hi, Hilbren. Now, you are a captain on the canals and rivers of Paris for ParisWaterway.com. You're also a specialist in marine facilities for Click&Boat. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Genie. Absolutely. There is a canal that passes underneath the Bastille Square. And from experience, I can say that being underneath the Bastille Square, one is worlds away from all the bustle and the sound and the noise that you know from the city above on the surface.
I bet. And was this tunnel always there, or was there always a canal joining the Seine and Place de la Bastille?
There hasn't. This is really the result of centuries of thinking and reflection about how to alleviate traffic pressure at the center of Paris, where the islands create a narrows in the Seine, so the islands of Paris. And we're starting to find the first works on our hydrological works on the canal towards the 16th century, and will end in 1826 with the full delving of the canal.
All right, but let's talk about the tunnel, the vaulting of the canal. Now, that apparently can be linked to a revolution.
Yes, indeed. So ahead of the Industrial Revolution, we're going to have a series of revolutions. The French are known for their revolutions, quelling revolutions also. And in this case, we're in 1848, not the most famous of the revolutions, but an important and seminal one nonetheless. And in this case, what you had is around Paris a series of these communes that would emerge, which essentially are autonomous communities of revolutionaries, proletarians who barricade themselves in, and these must be dispersed usually by the cavalry. And so whilst the canal was still open, one of these communes developed at the level of the 11th and the 12th districts, and it was particularly difficult to break up because it was defended essentially by the Canal Saint-Martin, which at the time was still open.
So from the middle of the 19th century, then the canal starts to be covered. Tell us a bit more about that, and if that tunnel's proved efficient in suppressing future uprisings.
Exactly. So from the middle of the 19th century, we see that it's going to be progressively more covered, and the vault will lengthen until we reach 1806, the end of the vaulting, almost 1,800 meters long. And it hasn't always proved successful. In 1871, France suffered a humiliating defeat at the in Sedan for the Franco-Prussian War, and this created unsettlement in Paris. People were unhappy, afraid of the restoration of the monarchy and these sorts of things, and a new commune emerged around the Bastille Square. A series of people had put hands on a oil tanker, which had managed to sail underneath the canal and underneath the Bastille Tower, which itself is a commemoration of the Revolution of 1848, and set it on fire. So you see the thing turns in circles a little bit, but it's said that one could see flames gushing out of the tower itself and out of the tunnel at that time. So it was impressive.
All right. So when there isn't a commune, when there aren't flames gushing out of it, what's it actually like to visit this tunnel? I've never done it.
It's really most extraordinary. It's a beautiful experience. One has to come by boat. There isn't another way to enter the canal unless you have access to a boat or you're on a boat. One will have to go through a lock at least, or a couple, which is a pleasant experience in itself. And then you find yourself in this beautiful stone vault with oculi letting light in at different stages. And towards the middle, there's also a curb which gives it this, you can't see the end. So it gives it this sense of infinity, which is truly extraordinary.
That sounds so magical. All right. So the Canal Saint-Martin was built to answer a need that's no longer relevant in theory to quell revolutions. Do you think there's any possibility the canal might be fully exposed in the future?
At different stages, there has been talk of it, and it emerges from time to time. At some point, there even was talk of building a motorway instead of the canal. But the canal in itself is is a monument as it is. It's pretty, it's an engineering feat, it had its own value. And so I think there isn't much traction for this, but most of all, the infrastructure around it, the market that takes place above the surface, the metro lines that surround it, the buildings that have been created around the canal, just make that it's so ingrained, it would be difficult to imagine it away.
And to discover underground Paris for people who might want to be visiting is such a great thing, too. Hilbren, thank you so much for coming in on the show. Now, don't forget, if you want to experience the Canal Saint-Martin on the water or in the vault, you can schedule your own tour, a boat ride on pariswaterways.com, or by searching on Click&Boat. Hilbren Buys, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's been a delight, Jeannie.
And all right, thanks to all of you for watching France 24. Do stay with us. I'll be back in just a few minutes with your world news.